4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And I'm Lovey.
Excuse me. Sorry. Sometimes you just got to clear your throat, right? Sorry. My bad.
It's like, let me clear my throat.
Thank you.
That's Beastie Boys. Anyway, hey, we want to welcome you back. You could be anywhere doing anything, and we feel very blessed that you've come to listen to the Married into Crazy podcast. Mm-hmm. So we are a couple that have been married for 28 plus years, mm-hmm. and we've been through some things. Mm-hmm. We are a couple that we got engaged.
We got engaged after 4 months, a week after our engagement. Actually, not even a week, 5 days later.
After 4 months after meeting each other.
4 months after meeting each other, yes. 5 days later, after our anniversary, he proposed. He was stabbed in the heart by my ex-boyfriend who, I don't know, he was on some caveman stuff, whatever. But yeah, I kind of came in our house, assaulted me, tried to, and Lovey was there, protected me, knight in shining armor, got stabbed in the heart, and had to have 2 open heart surgeries. Let's see, that happened in April. So 9 months later, we were married, and there was a lot of drama at our wedding, before our wedding.
After the wedding?
After the wedding.
So when we say that, like she got my heart, did she ever? It was really her.
Thank you. I'm like, I didn't yield the knife, but anyway.
No, so we've been through some stuff. So, and what we did was, in that process, there were a lot of things that transpired. And so we went through coaching, we went through counseling.
Oh, I didn't say the part about 4 years after that, after we got married, I asked for a divorce. We didn't get that part yet.
And that's what we're going to get into today.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the last episode, we kind of gave you the story, the rundown, the lead up, everything that we just talked about, how we met, the build up, the stabbing, and all the things that took place. We ran through all of that. Mm-hmm. But today we're going to give you the second part of that story. We're going to talk about what transpired after the fact.
After the wedding.
After the wedding.
Okay. Well, I guess. So you want to go?
Yeah, I will. So there was this big buildup going into the wedding, right? So as I was recovering in the hospital, mm-hmm. it was an interesting time. There was a woman that came to visit us.
I don't know that I'd say interesting, but okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
There was a woman that came to visit us, and this person, she actually was the aunt of the assailant, the person that actually stabbed me. This was a God-fearing woman, a woman that came and prayed over me and was deeply remorseful for her nephew's actions. Mm-hmm. And she was just a good person. And so when it came time for us to actually do our wedding list, I actually wanted her to come to our wedding. It was on my heart. It was on my spirit. And my family caught wind of it. Yeah. And so when they did, a family meeting by the men was called. My grandfather, uncles, all that. And ultimately what ended up happening was there was going to be a boycott.
I was going to say they issued like an ultimatum, basically.
Yeah, there was an ultimatum. It was like, you can't have her there, and if she goes, then we ain't going. I was like, all right, deuces. I was like, then y'all ain't coming. And I told my dad, and he had some choice words that began with an F, ended with a K, them. And God bless him, my father has passed, but my dad has always been my biggest supporter.
Yeah, he really was.
And so, anyway, ultimately.
So, yeah, ultimately, I actually called her and just basically had to rescind the invitation and just ask her not to come. And she totally understood. She didn't want to have any, be the cause of any more drama that was going on within the family. So she didn't come to the wedding. So, but needless to say, that was kind of left a very sour taste in my mouth, because you're not going to dictate to us who's coming to our wedding. I actually ended up saying that to two people in his family when they said something to me, kind of let them know this is my wedding, this is his wedding. The only people that have to be there are us. Everyone else is a guest, and you get to sit on the front row, but you're still a guest. So they didn't like that pretty much. And so hard feelings were, another
had
layer.
by all.
Yeah. Were had by all. Exactly.
But we made it through.
Yeah, we did make it through.
It wasn't that. It was a joyous occasion, but it wasn't that.
It was kind of tainted.
Yeah, let's call it that.
Yeah, I'll say that. It was like Lovey said, it was a joyous occasion, but it was tainted. So we get married, and we're living our life, right? And we're doing the married thing, and we're learning more about each other, communicating, what have you. So we thought. So
at the time, I was working at, and this is really interesting. So at the time, I was working for an insurance company, and I was training. I was in the training department, so I was training some new hires, and so I'm doing my thing, and I had gone through. So this person that assaulted me they caught him. He was in jail, and somehow or another. Anyway, I'm working I'm doing this thing, and the training room was near the mail room. And I'm in the middle of class, and I'm teaching, and all of a sudden, all the hair, and when they say the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and the hair on your arm stands up, I mean, literally, it's all the hair, the fibers on my body just stood up, and I got nauseous. My heart just started beating fast, started sweating, and it was just in the corner of my eye, I just saw this figure, just barely. And something said, "That's him." And then so I walk out of the classroom, just mid-sentence, walk out of the classroom, and I'm following this person, and I see this guy walking out. So I'm walking all the way through and this is like a large corporate building that has security, the whole 9 yards. So I'm walking all the way through. This guy walks out through the security doors, and then I see this white truck, and over the top of the truck, all I see is a baseball cap and eyes looking out over the top of the truck. And I'm looking, and he looks and gets in the truck, and he drives off. And I'm thinking, I swear that's him, but I can't be positive. Mm-hmm. So I call a friend of mine whose uncle was a district attorney. He was my best friend. And so her dad was a district attorney, and so, or stepdad rather. And so he says, there's no way that could be him because, part of the victims of violent crimes here in the state of California, you would have been notified if he was paroled, but I'll check into it. Get a phone call a little bit later. What happened? Tell me what happened. I need to know everything. And I explained it to him, and he goes, I don't know what happened. Somebody dropped the ball. Yes, he was paroled. Did he accost you? Did anything happen? I was like, no, I don't even know for sure that it was him and I explained everything. So now I'm on edge. So we're watching every single day. And I said, don't do anything because we did not see each other for sure. And he's like, there's no way this can be a coincidence. So this thing goes on. About 2 to 3 weeks later, I'm sitting there and same things, working in the class and get that feeling again. Hair rises up, whole 9 yards. This time I dart out and I see this guy and I'm like, we're face to face. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And the guy puts his hands up and he's like, look, I don't want any trouble. He was an electrician by trade. Said he got an early parole and he couldn't get a job. He put in papers to move back to the state where he was from. And he was just waiting for his papers to be approved. The only job he could get was as a courier dropping off mail. And that's all he was doing. He had no idea that I had worked there. And all he was doing was dropping off mail at these different places. It was just pure happenstance. And so I was like, well, look, like I said, at your trial, and I did stand up at his trial, and I said, God doesn't make junk. So I don't know what his life was supposed to be about. I know that I got a second chance on life. And I said, so apparently you're getting a second chance as well. So, make the best of your life. I don't want to be your friend. I don't want you anywhere near my family. But in the same respect, man, God's doing something with you, so make sure you do something with your life. And I asked him, can we pray together? And right there in the middle of this building, we held hands and we prayed. You got these two grown black men that a year and a half earlier were battling and were on the cusp. One of us was on the cusp of dying.
3 years.
Was it? 3 years.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of this room and we're just crying. And what's crazy is that all of us had this thing where we say, if that happened to me, I would have did da 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 da. We always have this bravado about how we would have done X, Y, Z, or if that happens to me, I would do this, I would do that. I was the same. I said the same thing. You hear these stories about, well, if I was in that situation, I would have did this. I said all that too. The last thing I never said, if that happened to me,
I'm gonna pray for him.
I'm gonna pray for him. That was the furthest thing from my mind.
Right.
And yet there I was in the middle of this corporate building holding hands with the man that had stabbed me through my heart. Mm-hmm. And we were praying together. We said our goodbyes, never saw him again, wiped my tears, went back in the classroom, finished my day, and it was a glorious experience. It was a little shaken.
Yeah.
I'll say I was shook for a little while. Have no idea what transpired in his life after that. None. But for whatever reason, God brought us back together. I don't know why. I think we both needed closure. I have no idea. And it's not for me to understand. But I'm grateful that I was a part of whatever that was that God unfolded in that moment. And so that took place. That's real. So I consider that a miracle as much as I consider the stabbing and surviving a miracle.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it. I could see you looking at it as being in a miracle because this is the person who you almost died.
This is the guy that attacked you, forced his way into the home, attacked you, fought me, stabbed me with a serrated steak knife in my chest, through my heart, caused 2 open heart surgeries, just a cascade of events. Could have killed me and ended up in prison for life.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And the reason why he didn't get attempted murder was because none of her cutlery matched, so they couldn't prove that it was premeditated, that he brought the knife with him. And he said that he was fearing for his life because I was beating him so bad that he reached around the ground and there happened to be a serrated steak knife
on the floor
in the middle of
heater
in a hallway. Crazy.
In the dark hallway.
In the dark hallway, right?
Anyway.
Exactly. Anyway, so that transpired. But so we're living our life, our best life. I thought we were living our best life.
I mean, so we were living our life, yeah, like Lovey said, and it wasn't our best life. It wasn't my best life because there were residual feelings, emotions that were, Lovey got closure, but no one else in his family got closure. So even though we're married, years pass, I'm still like, I don't know if I could say public enemy number 1, but let's just
She was high on the list.
Yeah. So I wasn't the flavor of the month, the year, the week, any of that. So the relationship between myself and his family, not all of his family, but let's just say his family, was kind of contentious, and he was placed in a spot where, I don't want to say asking who do I please, but kind of teeter-tottering, like trying to please his wife,
please my mother, please my grandmother.
Yeah, grandfather, whomever. So it became too much for me because we were trying to establish our own thing, but everything outside of our home, outside forces, were just in our way. And I couldn't take it anymore. So I was like, you know what? I can't do this. And it was just, it would just build up until one day at our 4-year anniversary, we're at dinner at Morton's Steakhouse. It just came out. I did not intend to say that I wanted that I wanted a divorce on our anniversary, but it was just like I just vomited the words, I want a divorce. And he was like, what? What are you talking about? I was like, yeah, I want a divorce. And that was January 4th. Yeah, that was our anniversary.
That was our anniversary, January 4th.
So we kind of, I don't know, even like we went back and forth a little bit from January 4th until basically the end of February. So I was my mind was made up. I want a divorce. At that time, we had Kaylin and Ashanti Kaylin was 6 and Ashanti was 1. And so he was like, well, I'm just saying, if I go, I'm not coming back.
Let's keep it real. I mean, it was one of those things where, like, look, I felt like, yes, maybe I wasn't who I should have been, but if I'm out, I'm out, and I don't do do-overs. Mm-hmm. So if I leave, that's it. And I kept stating that, and she was like, and she wasn't playing. So I was like, okay, fine. All right,
like,
here's
okay,
what we're gonna do. So I went out, put a deposit on an apartment, got a U-Haul. Ended up put an X on the calendar on this date. I'm moving out.
He was supposed to move out March 2nd or something like that. Anyway, the day before he was supposed to move, I got laid off from my job. And I loved my job. I made good money at my job. I got laid off. And so I called him, I was like, hey, I just got laid off. And being the kind of man that he is, he was like, okay, well, I'll call the apartment and like I'll cancel the U-Haul, blah, blah, blah. But I'm still in my feelings and in my emotions. I was like, you don't got to cancel anything. I've already figured out what I'll be getting for unemployment. I know what the rent was back then, very, very minuscule. I can handle it. And so he said, no, I'm not moving. And I was like, yeah, you are. And he was like, no. So he told me, he said, I'm not going to move right now. He goes, I need to make sure that my family is taken care of. So when you find a job, then I'll move then.
I said, we'll revisit this. And then, if you still feel the same way, then we'll just keep it moving. Right.
So I will tell you, I've never looked for a job so hard and so fast in all of my life. But, as believers, I know that was nothing but the Lord in the first place, the whole layoff, everything. But during that time, from the moment that I said I wanted a divorce, from the moment that I got laid off and Lovey was, he canceled the deposit, or the U-Haul lost the deposit, until I found a job, it was like the Lord was working on me, and actually in our marriage too, because there were key people in his family whom he talked to, and lo and behold, they understood why I asked for a divorce. Two people that he very much respects, his father and his sister. And so I don't know, I felt like that might have been the catalyst to him saying, oh, okay, well, she's not just tripping. I don't know, but let's take a serious look at this thing. Like, what do I need to do?
Not this thing. I had to take a serious look at myself.
Okay.
And be like, okay, so what was it about me that contributed to this situation? Because I felt like, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong. And then my dad basically said, well, actually you are. Because when you said I do, you're supposed to put everybody else aside. Me, your mom, your grandmother, your grandfather, everybody else. He goes, none of us matter. It's supposed to be your wife. She comes first. And I was like, I am putting her first. He's like, sometimes. And then my sister, who ain't nothing but a carbon copy of this one, pretty much said the same thing. And I had to really think about it. I had to go into deep thought about, okay, how have I been moving? And I realized that I was trying to please too many people, as opposed to just making sure I was putting my wife first. So there was a mindset shift that had to take place.
Mm-hmm. So, it's funny too. Just thinking about it right now, we never sat down and were like, okay, you never said, these are the things that I'm going to do better, And I never said, okay, I'm going to give you another chance. None of that. We never said any of that. It's so I just thought about that right now. It's like, we just kind of kept it moving, So I did get a job. But by that time, me getting a job, there was a shift in Lovey, but there was also a shift in me. And we just were like, okay, we got to work it out. We got to be better. Because one thing that we had always said, we want to be that couple that's different from what we've seen mirrored in our families. We love our families, and we're not knocking any of them, but I wanted to be happily married. I didn't want to be married and miserable, or married and not want to be married, or divorced. And I'm not knocking anyone who has been divorced. My mom was married twice. My dad was married 3 times. Yeah, my dad was married 3 times. Lovey's mom was married.
My mom was married 3 times. My father was married 4 times.
So we wanted to, set a different type of precedent for our kids. This is what we wanted them to model, basically. And I have longevity in my family as far as some couples that have been married for a very long time, but I could never say that they were happily married at that time. I couldn't say that. It was a lot of, I was like, oh, I couldn't do that, but we just decided that we took a stand for our family and was like, all right, we're going to do some things. And
and we did the traditional things. We went through counseling, we got some coaching, and I had an aunt and uncle that were pivotal for us. They're like, nah, you guys are not getting divorced.
She literally said that. She's like, y'all not about to,
and
y'all not doing that.
into us. They poured and they poured into us. I know they prayed over us and
prayed for us.
And they were the couple that we wanted our marriage to be like. We said that when we were engaged, like, yeah, that's how we want to be.
So this is a funny thing too. And I told him this, but this was years later that I told him this. The very first time that I met them, was the day that Lynette had our niece. And so we went over there to pick up Kaylin, and I had met them the first time. And just when I walked in the house, it was just something about them. They weren't doing anything but watching TV. Little cousins were playing with Kaylin, Patches, the dog, It was nothing like, it wasn't a big lavish house and, the bling and all that, but it was them. I'm big on energy, and I just felt theirs, and it was loving and it was kind. And I was like, I sat there and we talked a little bit, and I was thinking to myself, I said, this is going to be me and Lovey. This was before we had even talked about getting married or any of that, I said, this is going to be us. And I had always looked at them like, that's the type of relationship that I wanted. And later, after everything happened, when they're like, oh no, you're not going to go get divorced. You about to come over our house. We were like over there almost every weekend, just like they said, poured into us and just really, showing us something different. Just, I don't know.
And that's why it's important that you have a North Star, that a couple that is that North Star for you, that you can use them to navigate your way back onto the path, because we can't do this alone. Marriage it's about you. Yes. But no matter how good you are, you can't do it alone. You need other people around you that can guide you, that can assist you. You show me a great mentor and I'll show you who you're going to become. Right? And so we had that for us. And that's when we started saying, and the counsel that we had, it was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It didn't really do much for us. And we looked for books, and we were like, we couldn't really find what we were looking for. And then little did we know, that's when our journey to where we are right now began.
Married and crazy. And
we decided that we ultimately wanted to become, and actually I think that's where we started to become the couple that we needed in that moment. And it all started then. And it was, I can't put my finger on it, at some point, and it was hard because we were roommates.
Mm-hmm.
We went on dates. I won't even call it dates. We started meeting for lunch.
Just doing the small things. We worked kind of not too far from each other. We were meeting at like a little cafe for lunch, and the first lunch was very awkward. You would think that we were meeting for the first time.
On a blind date.
On a blind date,
'Cause
yeah.
we didn't have much to say to each
We
other.
really didn't. It was so awkward, but we kept doing it. We kept showing up. And not only did we show up, it wasn't like I'm going to show up and just say that, well, I'm here, I came. We put some effort into it, you know. And then we started meeting at his dad's house. Love Dad so much because Dad was like, nah.
You guys come eat lunch in my
Yeah,
backyard.
you come and eat over here, you know, because the people that meant something to us, they wanted us to work it out, you know. They wanted to see us be together. You should have seen my grandma. Lord, today, my grandmother loved some Lovey. She was I'm just so sad, you know, because I told her, I was like, well, Grandma, you just going to have to be sad because, you know. But she was broken up. My mom, my family was very upset because he was family, you know. But Dad was, he's like, no. So you come over here. So we started meeting in the backyard at Dad's house. And before we knew it, we started talking more. We're laughing more. We're getting our stride back, you know.
But I want you to get that picture. So we lived together.
In the same house still. We still went home to the same house.
Went home to the same house.
Right.
And we're kind of walking around like TV's on, not saying much, you know. I mean, we talked, we raised our children together and slept in the same bed. But it was one of those where I had, you know, covers facing this way. She had covers facing this way. Got up, went to work. We would go to lunch, meet each other. It wasn't every day. You know, it was at least once a week.
It was once a week, yeah.
And we would meet, look at each other, go back to work, then see each other at home. It was painful.
It was very painful.
And it was so hard, but we kept going through the process.
Because we knew that, I mean, I want to say we knew. I think Lovey knew that it was worth it. You know, I was still trying to figure out, but I was willing to do the work to see what was going to happen, you know. And before I knew it, I can't even explain, like I said, when we turned the corner, I don't know what it was, but we just, okay, we're back. You know, we're here now, you know. But we still continued to do the work, and that was the important part of it. One thing that we did learn is like we cannot stop doing the work because we've arrived at where we were before. So we're like, okay, so we did some inventory about what kind of led to it, what part he played, what part I played. Because initially I was like, oh, he's just, no, I can't, blah, blah, blah. But then I had to think about my part. What did I do? You know, and that's where compassionate comes in. You know, we had to be I had to learn how to be more compassionate for Lovey, for how he was feeling from his point of view, his perspective. I had to start seeing it like that. 'Cause what if that was my mom? What if that was my side of the family? How would I react? You know, so, and then we just, without knowing, we developed those 5 pillars. You know, it didn't become official and have a name until much, much, much later. But that's where the crazy was born.
It's so true. And so we're sharing this with you because a lot of times it's funny. And again, just kind of going back to why we even started going back and telling our story is because people see us now. And the comment was made that, well, you guys haven't really been through a whole lot. You know, you can't understand what we're going through. Mm-hmm. And it was like, you know, you jest because you have no idea what we've gone through to get where we are. Yeah. And what we continue to go through, because people forget that when you go through stuff and you're healed. They had to crack my chest open twice. I had a collapsed lung, and I've got scar tissue all across my torso. Mm-hmm. I'm healed, but I have scar tissue.
Yeah.
our marriage is healed, yet it has scar tissue.
And it's funny too, because I remember when all of that first happened, when Lovey, the scars and stuff, I was so fixated on those, like, oh, the scars. And, it's like I had scars too, because when I saw the scars, all I saw was what happened. I don't even see those scars no more. I mean, I totally forgot that they're there. I mean, he still has the scar, but is in the background now. That's not the focus of,
right.
And
there was a time where I was embarrassed to take my shirt off. I didn't want to ever be seen without my shirt. I didn't take my shirt off ever. Like water parks, swimming pool, whatever. I would not take my shirt off because I was embarrassed for all the scars. Now it's like I forget that I have scars until somebody points it out. I'm like, oh yeah, I did get stabbed.
That did happen.
Yeah, I mean, I got this huge old zipper from here to here, and it's unmistakable. And the same thing happens in our marriage. We kind of forget sometimes that we went through that. We were like, oh yeah, we went through all that. Mm-hmm. And we want you to know that you will get to that point as well. Mm-hmm. But you got to put in the work.
Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because my uncle, hey, Uncle Leroy, but my uncle, he kind of teases us. He's like, oh, here comes the lovebirds, Yesterday, I don't know if you caught this. So yesterday, we were taping this the day after Easter. We were all at my over at my aunt's house. And, we take pictures. My family, we're big on pictures. But he said, hey, go over there with Ernest.
Yeah, I caught it.
And I was like, he said, so you could take a picture together. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had been sitting down in the chair next to us because I was eating. But after I was done eating, but instead of sitting down, I was like, I'm finna wrap my arms around him. So I got up and I went behind him and I put my arms around him. And he just shook his head. He goes, I knew y'all was going to do some lovey-dovey stuff. And I thought that was funny, but I was like, that's right.
Oh, no,
we're known
did you hear
as
what he said?
For the lovey-doveys.
No. He said,
he did say that.
He said, you guys going to take one of them Married into Crazy pictures.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I just heard him say.
Yeah, he did.
He's like, I knew. He goes, I should have known y'all was going to do some lovey-dovey stuff. And I started laughing. So
that's funny. No, he said, you guys going to take one of them Married into Crazy pictures.
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
Yep,
but
he sure did.
But he always, every time he be like, oh, here they come. Here come the lovebirds, And I'm like, that's so cool to be known for that, There's way worse things to be known for as a couple. It might be that couple like, oh, God, here they come. They always fighting or whatever.
And this is not us patting ourselves on the back.
No, it's just what. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is us trying to give you perspective to let you know that we feel like many couples, you hear about in business. Wait, let me just go back. You hear about in business, that, a lot of businesses quit. A lot of entrepreneurs quit right before they turn the corner. They're right on the cusp of success, but they quit right before. And if they would have just gone a little bit further, that big breakthrough was just waiting for them. And I'm of the mindset, and we are the mindset, that the same thing is true for your marriage as well. That if you both want the same thing, which is success for your marriage, you both want to be successful, but maybe it's communication. Maybe it's something that you want it, but you just don't know how to get there. Mm-hmm. But rather than give up, you keep working, keep putting in that extra step. Take that extra step. Go the extra mile. Do the extra rep. Go see one more coach. Go see one more counselor. Because if you both want it, it's there. And we truly believe that showing up for a lunch with nothing to say to each other, rather than saying, well, this is some BS and this ain't worth it.
This is stupid.
How about saying, I don't know what we're going to say, but I'm just going to keep showing up.
Yeah.
Until there's something to say. We're going to figure it out at some point.
All right.
And that's all it was. Well, I'm just going to keep coming back. I'll see you next week.
Right.
And eventually, it just worked itself out. We figured it out.
We just started talking. We became friends.
Half the battle is just showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'll figure it out together.
And be willing to do the work,
Because it got to be a little funny, like just looking at each other like, well, what are we going to talk about this week?
It's like, oh, brother.
and it just happened. And, that phrase of it just became organic, it did once again.
Literally. Because there's not one point that I can say, oh, this is when it happened. I can't pinpoint anything. I just know that it did happen. And it didn't take all that much time either, because we had another child after that. So, we wasn't roommates anymore.
Yeah. Go visit a couple of go to a couple of weddings. Yeah, we went to a few friends' weddings, and that'll always get you in the mood as well. But look, y'all, so we wanted to revisit our story. Mm-hmm. Hopefully to inspire you and also let you know that we've been through some things. We talk about it, but we wanted to share the story in itself to you. Mm-hmm. Unveil a couple of miracles, but let you know that your marriage is just as important.
Right. So, and then also let me just say this. A lot of times we give our new clients, we talk to them about some of the things that we've been through, because for us to be able to come back from what happened, it's like, okay, maybe you're not so bad. You're thinking like, oh, I just can't. We're done for. And no, so we could be that couple, like we tell people, that can help you. If you need a coach, we coach together. It's so you'll never feel like, oh, the woman is just one woman and she's always going to gang up on the man, or you go to a man and he's going to gang up on the woman. No, you get both of us. So two perspectives.
Absolutely. So if you go to marriedandcrazy.com, we should have said this early on, what we're supposed to in the intro, but we just jumped right in. But if you go to marriedandcrazy.com, you can see all the different ways that we actually assist you. We have the couple coaching, and soon and very soon, you're going to see the Married into Crazy app, which is actually available now on Apple in the App Store and Google Play for Android. And starting in May, we're going to really start rolling it out and promoting the app for a variety of different ways we can do group coaching as well, and all the different levels that opens up a variety of different ways that we can pour into your marriage with a bunch of different resources and tools.
Yep.
So until the next time,
be blessed.
Thank you for listening to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.